Hello YouTube, this is Callum from EnglishShooting, and this is going to be a complete guide on how to fill out an application form for a firearm or shotgun certificate. So the first thing you need to do is, say if you're applying for a firearm certificate or a shotgun certificate, and obviously there's the option for the renewals there, but we're doing a first time application, so you would tick whichever one you want. If you're going for a firearm certificate, you might as well do the shotgun certificate as well, get one. It's an extra £10 and it's no more hassle. If you're going just for the shotgun certificate, it is a fair bit more hassle to get the firearm certificate, but you know, it's up to you, whatever one you want to apply for. And then this page is just basically about you. It's nothing tricky, it's no trick questions. It's, you know, whether you're male or female, you've got your title, so obviously Mr, Mrs, Miss, Doctor, so on and so forth, your surname, your first name, and you've got to give all of them, and your previous surname and first name. So obviously if you've got married and you've changed your name, you need to put your previous one there. If you've changed your name, you need to put your previous ones there. Your current home address. Now if you have numerous addresses, this is going to be the address that you're going to be storing your firearms. This is where they're going to come and do the interview and come and check the safe. So when I lived in London, you know, I could have put my London address, but my home address is where the firearms are stored, so I put my home address. You got, you know, postcode, your telephone and mobile number, email, and then you need to tick whether you have had any previous addresses in the last 5 years, and there's a separate page in a second to put those details in. Then there's a bit more about you. You've got your height, date of birth, place of birth, nationality, occupation, your work address, postcode and telephone number of your work as well. Then you've got a bit about personal health, so you need to declare any medical conditions, but there is a section here, there's notes 5 and 6 that you can read to see what medical conditions you need to declare. So obviously, you know, there's some, if you have a cold at the moment, you don't really need to put that. But if you're all clear, you can put no. There's also the mental health. This is very important. This is what they take the most seriously, and they will ask you time and time again in your interview. If you have any previous conditions, or you are currently suffering with any sort of mental health conditions, you need to declare it. It's not a complete blanket. You've had depression in the past, therefore you can't have a license, but you still need to declare it. It's going to look a lot worse if you don't declare all your details. Then you need to give details of your doctor, because they contact your doctor, they get in touch to make sure that, you know, your health details are correct, or if there's anything else that would prevent you from having a certificate. But that's just a quick check, but you still need to put the details. You need to then print your name, sign it and date it. That's the first page done. So the second page here is just about offences. So you just need to talk about or declare if you've had any offences at all. Now it does say not including parking, but it does include speeding, fines, traffic violations, all that sort of stuff. And if you've come from abroad, you have to, or you have any convictions in another country, you also have to declare those. I have a speeding fine, you know, it's like speeding in a 30, and I put that down. They didn't even mention it. So really, don't try and hide anything. You know, the minor stuff that you might be scared of putting down and you think you can get away with, don't try and not put it down. If you've got speeding or traffic fines or whatever, put them down. It didn't even come up in my interview. You know, people aren't perfect. People will have the odd speeding ticket. Just declare everything. And then this is your like separate address page. So if you have had any previous addresses in the last 5 years, you need to put them down here. And this obviously follows from the first page. That's the second page done. So this is page 3. Unfortunately, no beautiful women on this page, but this is the beautiful part if you want a firearms certificate. If you want a shotgun certificate, you can just skip this stage and go on to the next page. Now, if this is your initial application, then you won't have any firearms. So this is purely to say what you currently have, and this is for the renewal of a firearm. So you would just put none in here. if this is your first time application, this is what you're interested in. Obviously, if you're applying for a renewal and you don't want any more, you'd put none in here. But for a first time application, you want to leave this one blank. So as you can see, they don't want a huge amount of information. All they want is the caliber, the type, and the reason. Now with the caliber, you don't again need to be really specific. So for like a 22 long rifle, you can just put .22. You know, for a 308 Winchester, you can just put .308. It gives you a lot of flexibility, and I actually put in, for my 22 long rifles, I put in 22 long rifle. My certificate came back with just .22, so I can actually go out and get any 22 rifle. So you just put, if you want a 22, you just put .22. It does need to be on separate levels and on separate lines. So if you want like 3 22s, then you have to put 22, 22, 22, and then if you're like 308, you just put 308 on the bottom. And you're not limited. As long as you can justify what you want, you can go for as many as you want. And I really would recommend go for too much, and they're going to tell you, you know, what you can have, rather than go for too little and then wanting to do a variation 6 months down the line. Now the type can just be rifle. It can just be long barrel pistol. Again, you don't need to be too specific, but for mine, I put, you know, I wanted a semi-automatic 22, I wanted a long-barreled pistol 22, and I wanted a bolt action. So I did put semi-automatic, bolt action, and long-barreled pistol. But I could have put rifle, rifle, long-barreled pistol. And then for the 308, I could have put, you know, rifle as well. Again, it doesn't need to be too specific, because they will go over this in your interview as well. So you don't need to worry about it too much. If he needs more information during the interview, he will ask you, and he's going to ask you basically what you want anyway. Then the last bit here, probably the most important, is the reason that you want it, and it gives you some normal reasons. So you've got target, vermin, and then, you know, if you're going to be shooting it on what land, and the club details of where you're going to be shooting it. So obviously the easiest way to get into rifle shooting is to be a member of a club. So you just have to say that, you know, you're going to be using those rifles at your club, you're a member of that club, and here's the club details. And don't worry about using too much space. You know, if you're only applying for like 2 or 3 rifles, spread them out so you don't have to bunch everything up. So that's page 3 of the application done. Probably the most important for a firearm application. Now you've got to stipulate, again, this doesn't come under for a shotgun application, but if you're doing a firearm application, you need to say what ammunition you want, because obviously you have to have certain allocations for ammunition for a firearm than ammunition. Now this again is kind of equally important, I guess, because it's all well and good having the gun if you don't have the ammunition to shoot it. Now one of the biggest questions is, what can I go for? What sort of limit shall I go for? Well, my application, you know, I have 3 22s on my license, and I'm allowed to hold 1,200 rounds. I would say for 22, 1,000 is a pretty good number. Some counties will reduce you down to 500, and some will let you have 5,000, you know, 10,000. I do have a friend that actually has a 10,000 round limit, because he does a lot of batch testing for competitions and his target shooting. But I would say for 22, a good number is around 1,000, and this can be negotiated within your interview. So if you put down 10,000, he will come back, and you might come back and say, don't be silly, I'm going to give you 1,000. For kind of larger calibers, for 308, I can store up to 300. So I would say, you know, 200 to 300 for a larger caliber. That's enough. So, you know, for 22, I'd say put 1,000. For anything else, I'd say put, you know, 300. So this part here is just about your security and storage of your firearms and your you know, your guns and your ammunition. Now, if you're going to have security arrangements at your home, you just tick yes. You then say, you know, what type of security it is. So yes, I've got some at home, I've got a cabinet. And then you just say if you're going to be sharing it with anyone, and then your ammunition storage. Now, for this, if you put no, there are ways in which you can have a firearms license and store guns without having a safe at home. So if you've got a cabinet in a club, or it's going to be kept in the club armory, then you can put no, and then you put down those details. Then your ammunition storage, so you can just say if you've got a Bratton sound, you've got a safe within a safe, you're going to be storing your ammunition within that, or you've got a separate safe that is going to be bolted separately, and that's all that is. Pretty straightforward, and that's page 4 done. So on page 5, this is specifically for your shotgun certificate. So this is what you would have jumped to if you're not doing a firearm application. Now again, this part is about the shotguns you already hold. So if this is your initial application, you'd put none in there and just move down here. Now obviously you don't need to give any details about shotguns on your initial application, because the way that the license works is once you've got your shotgun license, you can go and buy as many shotguns of any caliber you want, and as long as you can store them, you can buy them. So you don't actually need to tell them what shotguns you're going to be buying of what caliber. You just so you just skip that. You don't need to talk about it at all if this is your initial application. And then just like the firearms certificate application, you need to just say about your security. So, are you going to be storing at home? Yes. If you put no, then you have to say where, if it's going to be at a club, at a playground, so on and so forth, the type of security you have. If it's other, then you have to specify, and if it's shared with another certificate holder, and giving details if that's the case. And that's page 5 done. And then if you've got any more information, so if you're going for any sort of moderators and you want to give further justification, although you can put the moderators actually in the firearm slot, so you can give more information here. If you've got more addresses, then anything that you haven't been able to put on those applications, or you want to explain anything in finer detail, you just use this. And obviously you want to refer to it, so you want to mark where you're referring to or where you're expanding on. And this is just your kind of final declaration. This is saying that you're going for a firearm certificate or shotgun certificate, or tick for both. You're saying that the information is true. You then want to sign it, print your name and date it. If you're under the age of 18, you need a parent, or you've got your guardian, so you tick whichever one that is, and you need them to sign it, print their name and date it. And that's page 7 done. So everything that we've just seen is everything you need to do. It's taken like 10 minutes, it's going to take you 10 minutes to sit down and do all that. The final stages is about your references. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just need to give the details of your referees, and you just fill it out. It's the same sort of details that you've already given yourself, your title, surname, forename, date of birth, place of birth, occupation, home address, with postcode, home telephone number, work telephone number, mobile number, home email, work email, and how you know them and how long has the referee known you for. And this is just basically to make sure that they are someone that can actually vouch for you and someone that knows you well enough to be able to referee for you. And the reason they need all the contact details is because they will be contacting them to get a reference off of them. So that's page 8 done. So on page 9 it says quite clearly that second referee is only for a firearm certificate. So if you're going just for the shotgun certificate, you only need the one referee. If you're going for a firearm certificate, then you need 2. And again, it's just the same details of the second referee that you've just given for the first. Then you've just got your equality page. This is just to make sure that everyone's treated fairly, and it's just a bit of data that they want to gain on what sort of people are having the firearms. It's just basic generic stuff, but you can declare not to answer them. You can say I prefer not to answer them if you don't want to, but it's just standard like nationality questions, race questions, age, male, female, so on and so forth. But again, you can just say prefer not to say. It's not compulsory. So that's it. That's your completed firearm or shotgun application form filled out. Now before you send this away, there are 2 more things you need to do. You need to write a cheque made payable to the firearms office, and their made payable name will be available on their website, or you can phone them to obtain that. And you also need to include 4 passport sized photos, and one of them you need to sign. So you need to sign the back of it, and I would print your name as well, just to be sure. And you put that with your application and send it away. It is really as simple as that. There's nothing else you need to do. They will receive this and start to process it. Once they've processed the application, they then contact you for an interview, and it's in the interview that they're probably going to go a bit more into detail about why you want a shotgun or firearm, you know, what you're going to be using it for, you know, so on and so forth. And the interview is more about you and what you're going to be doing with it than the actual application itself. So there you go. It's really not that difficult, doesn't take too long, and is quite straightforward. If you do have any more questions, you can either phone your local firearms office or email them. You know, it's normal working hours within that, and they're going to help you. Any small questions, just phone them up. They're going to, you know, tell you what you need to do or not need to do. If you want me to answer any questions, if you want to ask me any questions, then put a comment in the comment section below and I'll happily answer them for you. But there we go. That's a complete guide to fill out your application form and get your firearm or shotgun application in the post to be processed. So as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's been helpful. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.